Welcome to Objective Deconstruction, and what we're going to be talking about today is going to be conspiracy theories. Now, before we do that, we just finished up with the Focus Up show, and we're starting a little bit early because Brother Alfred Knox was saying, "Yo, man, we talking. Let's just go ahead and put this out there." We didn't finish talking about what we were talking about, but basically this whole Clay Meg situation. These dudes that basically are saying like, hey, we need a pool of females to have to play with and have fun with, but we need to reserve a pool of females that we will seriously consider for relationships. And my point is that you're working with finite resources. So if everybody's playing with this one pool, that means that everybody's going to be competing for this diminished other pool. And it's like the whole thing with Kevin Samuels is people was talking about, these women that were having all these high expectations. They needed to bring down their standards so we can get people paired up and all this other stuff. Hey, some of you dudes, look in the mirror. At the end of the day, if you're trying to get people paired up, if you're trying to build up the Black family, what you can't do is hold people down because of what they did in the past. You need to give people an opportunity to be right now and then give them motivation to stay right now. So that's what's up.
Yeah, man. Plus, man, where's this fake moral outrage coming from? Like, who are you to say this person doesn't deserve, or I'm not going to give? Like, where's this standard coming from? Because these be the same dudes that get celebrated or celebrate other dudes or even celebrate themselves for having a gigantic body count, for selling poisonous products in the community, for promoting death and violence in the community. But when it comes to body count, all of a sudden, they're just this moral, they have this moral outrage. And like you said, it is very much linked to religion and concepts of purity that are magical, that come out of religion. And a lot of times they ascribe some type of magicness to the people.
Just think about it. If you want a doctor, you don't sit there and go, I want a doctor straight out of school, straight out of med school. That's the doctor I want. No, I want an experienced doctor. I want, I want a scientist. I want an employee. Yeah. I want employee. I want someone who's the most experienced and understands what needs to be done. This whole concept of I need something fresh and untouched, if it's not coming from religion, well, it's all coming from religion, but it's basically coming from some cultural construct. And I'm just saying that at the end of the day, you could potentially throw away a better relationship just because you have your perceived concept of what you should be going after.
But why is this? It's like, because again, you can have 1,000 fingers in the vagina, 1,000 dildos, 1,000 tongues, but somehow the penis, that mere one penis inserted, she's no longer. Let's talk about a little bit about what are your thoughts though? Just live right now.
I made this argument about porn stars. I go, It's funny because for some reason you can have one person who's faithful who has sex like 1,000 times, like that's her miles, but it's with one partner, or she can have 1,000 partners with just one episode. Her odometer is still 1,000 dicks, no matter how you look at it. And the notion that it needs to be this one or that. Now, I get it. When you're talking about diseases and stuff like that, that's an issue. But, there's this thing called protection. And then more important than that, this thing called testing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and none of this stuff is going to protect you. Your relationship with that goody old girl, that's not going to protect you for her veering off to the side and potentially doing something. You know what I'm saying? Nothing's going to magically protect you from this stuff anyway. So at the end of the day, the people that involve, do what you bargained for. This ain't about bashing Clay, because I said that, look, if a grown man is in a relationship and you don't want to be in anymore, it's best for everybody that relationship's in, period. You know what I'm saying? So, it may be a tough pill now, but the bottom line is you're better off not being the person with all the emotions and him having none of it. That's a recipe for a disaster.
It's so funny, though. You'll share intimate contact with this person, exchanging fluids with this person, body, intimacy, but for some reason you can't go beyond that. It's like, I can't share any commitment to this person because they've have sex with multiple partners. I don't know this like sex with multiple partners, like you brought it up. It can happen in form in different ways. And then there's also this it's permissible if it was the same sex for some reason. If she was a lesbian in the past.
Yeah. So again, it's all cultural. It's
cultural.
All, again, you can't make a rational reason for it. You really don't have a strong debate for me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really not trying to entertain it. At the end of the day, this is real simple. We have one person's side of it. We don't have the other person's side of it. One person was trying to be committed, and the other person just basically told them, look, he didn't say I didn't want with you. He didn't dump her. Mm-hmm. Based on what we said, all he said was, but no, that's not the point. I'm saying he stepped out, he cheated, whatever. He said, look, I just don't think I can be monogamous. So that's keeping it a buck. But again, if that's contrary to what you bargained for in the beginning and you had all this time, that's what makes it wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes it unethical.
Like it's okay to be ethically non-monogamous, but doing it non-ethically, that's
if that's what you bargained for and again, establish your parameters from the very beginning. So again, this is a bleed over. We bleeding over from what we talked about the Focus Up show, but let's get into what this show is about. So this show is about.
It reminds me of that Game of Thrones though, when dudes stay throwing rocks. That shame.
Yeah, exactly. They made her walk this whole thing. Again, it's never an issue for the guy, but some issue for the woman. And like I said, we there's a lot of dudes that love like the concept of polyamorous and all this other stuff. So they want to say that there's 2 women to every man out there, and that's just not the case.
True.
It's basically even. I'm just telling you, as a guy, let's say I like some good properly cooked barbecue beef ribs. If you gave me one, if you gave me 1 beef rib, I like that. But if you gave me 2, guess what? I'm gonna like that even more. You give me 3, I'm gonna like that even more. So I'm just saying, I get it. If you're telling a guy that he can have his cake and eat it too, a guy will want to eat cake. You know what I'm saying?
I got a quintessential kind of. We'll move on, but a quintessential question that I think is kind of ghetto though. If these dudes were, say, very well endowed and confident in their ability to please women, you think they would be equally concerned or more concerned about
it's a big part of it, man. I swear. I remember on Family Guy. Family Guy. It was implied that I guess the dog, who's like the dog and Peter, they're like best friends, right? So, and the dog is in love with Peter's wife, you know what I'm saying? And I remember he said something about seeing her naked, so whatever. It was some type of situation. The first thing he said, he goes, was he bigger than me? And I'm just saying it was a reflection. It's you nailed it. I'm just telling you. The dude, there was a movie where I remember there was some movie where they were just talking about, this guy, he can't have everything better than me, whatever. So they went to the bathroom and
that shit was good. This is a special. It was a series on I think HBO. That was good, man.
And he's like, come on, you have that too. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying I do think that's a big part of it.
And that's a good scene because he took time out of his schedule and stalked this dude. He got a membership at the gym just to find out when he showered so he can peek over and look. So that penis comparing, that's, I think, a lot of that insecurity is what's going on with men. That's what they try to put it on the women, but it's really something that's going on within you at the very least.
And ladies, I'm gonna give you some advice. Now that women are empowered, don't get too comfortable, because you definitely don't want to go size shaming dudes, because that's not going to encourage them to get right. You know what I'm saying? You have some incentive, but I always say this, it's really a 2-way street, because if he's not stretching you out, you're not squeezing him tight. So, there's something to be said about matching up with the right bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Exercise. Let's get it right.
So that having been said, how you doing? Mr. Nice Guy. Nice is the word say spelled backwards. Brother Afro Agnostics, and welcome to Objective Deconstruction. We've just basically had some extended Focus Up show right there, but let's get on to the topic. We're gonna talk about some conspiracy theories. Too bad we don't got brother Student X. Student X is sort of like the league champion of conspiracy theories on the Focus Up show. And I want to say right off the top, to everybody who's sort of like very defensive about this stuff, conspiracies do happen. So just because we call something a conspiracy theory, that doesn't mean it's not true. You know what I'm saying? And quite frankly, every single thing that we're going to talk about, I can't tell you definitively that it's one way or the other, but I will like to offer some things for you to consider. What I really want to make you think about is my theme is going to be the smell test, because some of these things we can kind of throw away real easy with just a basic smell test. So, Brother Afro Agnostics. Now you were the first one. You really kind of came up with this, or at least the first thing that we're talking about. I should have grabbed the video from Focus Up, because we have the re-detailed and slow video of what happened. But you were talking about, was Trump assassination attempt staged? And I felt like you said you did this because you were just saying that even a lot of people in your circle were jumping on this bandwagon, and it was kind of blowing your mind. So go ahead, speak for yourself. I want to speak for you, brother.
Okay, let's but I just want to let conspiracy theories, going back to kind of what you said, people do conspire, they do plan. And as coming from a science point of view too, I just want to throw around, it's really not a theory. It's really disrespectful to call these explanations, these extraneous explanations, maybe a theory. A theory is the highest standard, the highest goal in science is to, they do all this experimentation to arrive at an explanation that explains all of the facts and all of the results of the different experiments and all this. So conspiracy theories don't do any of that. So it's kind of disrespectful to call them just on the get up. Yeah. But the definition, what do you think about this definition? I'm reading it here from Wikipedia. A conspiracy theory, and I want to get into the Trump thing, but it's an explanation for an event or situation that asserts the existence of a conspiracy, generally a powerful, sinister group, often political in nature. When, this is the other part, when other explanations are more probable. What are your thoughts on that?
That's kind of a good definition because it really puts it in perspective. Because, when you're trying to have a convoluted answer, when real simple answers are out there, and not naive answers, I'm just talking about just when you take the basic information, it sort of makes even the leap of faith even worse. You know what I'm saying? The fact that you're going through all this extra stuff. I had this banner up here that I meant to keep because I said we're going to basically refer to it every single show, and I deleted it. But it's basically coming back to the Occam's razor, and I don't want to retype it and spell it wrong. So, but I mean, it's really that. I'm just saying that, we know that people conspire. We know that COINTEL really happened. We know that J. Edgar Hoover really did connive and conspire and do some of these crazy stuff. The crazy things that we are accusing and thinking people doing today, we know for a fact that it happened, you know what I'm saying, in the past. And just not even as that, just as simple as just history. They always say that history is told by the winners. We know that people basically get in power and they go, yeah, let's destroy every mention of this person's existence. If you want to go back to like really old times and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm just saying it's just the nature of humanity that people in power want to dictate, the story, and they'll tell the story, and they don't, they're not motivated to tell the story that's truthful. They'll tell the story that, they like being told. And, we get a prime example of that, what happens with the president now. This dude will tell you, screw the facts. You know the water's wet, but he's telling you the water's dry, and you just need to accept that. You know what I'm saying? And it's unpatriotic to consider anything of the alternative. So, I mean, that's what's going on. Yeah. I'm not making that up. I mean, he's really doing that type of stuff. Yeah. So,
So, I mean, I think too that you mentioned that in this definition, it is kind of defined that there are many different explanations that are out there for any given event. There's more than one. There's explanation A, explanation B, explanation C, explanation D, and you should comb through them all, and you should take other extraneous situations into account. But when one not necessarily one, but those explanations that are least probable, that have the least evidence, you just cannot. You cannot commit to none of them. That's okay. Don't commit to any, but you can't say that they're equal or one is they should be in the same category. I don't know, how would you categorize it?
And you can't shame people. You can't have a self-defense built in, or you just go, oh, well, you're just blind. You're not, you know, your eyes aren't open, or you're whatever. You know what I'm saying? This is you can't have that cop out.
Your third eye is closed.
So look, to me, like, there's, when you're trying to figure out what happened and you don't know, you imagine many possibilities. I have a hyper imagination. It's why I have the incapability of being bored. Like, literally, you could just put me in a dark room and I couldn't shut off the machine if I wanted. I'd just be thinking it's going like a many miles per hour all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I just can't turn it off. So I get it. I can come up with all type of reasons or explanations of what may have occurred, but emphasis on may. I'm not adaptive. If I can't definitively know what happened, I'm not even motivated to even speculate on. I will speculate on what can be done, but I won't speculate on what actually happened. I'm just not going to go there. I need a lot of information for even tempted to go there. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying, when you have these things, when we talk about, like, let's say this Trump assassination attempt being staged, like, for example, to me, I'm not even motivated to think about whether it was staged or not. I'm willing to accept that some moron tried to assassinate the president, wasn't very well prepared, wasn't very well thought out.
We have morons in the past that have done this, right? I mean, we do this.
Yeah. This, to me, I'm willing to take that on its face and then move on, because I don't see any value to evaluate whether it was staged or not. Because what are you saying? It was staged because he's trying to detract you from how things are going badly. I'm very knowledgeable of what's going on that's bad. This isn't enough to distract me. It can't serve that purpose. So what's the motivation for me even to entertain it? You know what I'm saying? And you know, when we talk about the Charlie Kirk thing, there's a lot of people that have a very glowing view of this dude. And if you do, you may be potentially giving the dude that actually took away your hero a free pass. But we'll come back to that one. We'll come back to it. Let's talk about this.
You brought a good point, though, because like because for me, you have a lot of explanations that are out there, and they are not all equal. This one is more probable, this one is less probable, blah, blah, blah. And I think scientifically, objectively, maybe you take the position you're not committed to any. But the conspiracy theorists don't take that position. They're committed to one and only one solitary explanation. It's you know, this was framed up, this person was a patsy, blah, blah, blah. And to me, that the moment you do that is the moment you shut down critical thinking, because you've already you presuppose intent, you presuppose motivation. But what's really happening in real time is that people are gathering evidence. They're not presupposing, they're gathering evidence to extract intent and motive. They're not assuming. So you're not looking for evidence anymore, because you already,
you're reinforcing a narrative that you've already pre-subscribed to.
Yes.
So, you know, yes. And again, but even all of you, I don't want to turn all y'all away just yet. You know, all of y'all that do that, you may still be right.
Yes.
Again, we don't know. So I'm just saying that's really not the point. But what you're not is being critical thinker. You're not being terribly reasonable. You may be guessing right. You know what I'm saying? But that's not an explanation. That's not a position of strength.
Well, I'm going to catch you out, because I used to say that to my students a lot of times, and they'll guess the correct answer, and they'll stand out, you know, like, you know, proud with like a badge on their chest. No, bro, you guessed that. You don't get no props. You know,
how did you come to that?
Why you understand it? Why that is the answer? No.
Yeah, in math, they'd always go, look, I want you to write down the answer, and then you got to demonstrate your proof. Yeah, so you got to show the understanding. It's just not an issue of just guessing. Guessing is great when you guess right, especially when it's come to gambling. But you know, there's just so many possibilities out there. Our most responsible effort is to make the most rational decision that we can based on the information we have. Sometimes our information betrays us because we only have so much, that had we had more information, you know, we would have definitely been nudged a different other way. So, you know what I'm saying? It's possible that a guessing can bring you to a more desired location, you know, better quicker, but chances are it's not going to. Chances are it's going to screw you.
So in your timeline, nice guy, what do you think is fueling this belief that this attempted assassination at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was staged? Like, what information are people already believing? Are these the same people who believe Charlie Kirk's assassination was staged?
It's different okay. Because there's people that think this is staged because they're discrediting Trump. They think that, oh, this is a clown, this is whatever, or he's trying to distract. You know what I'm saying? That's one particular whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then you got other people that, maybe still like fan of him, but it's not to discredit him. It's just that they just don't buy it. They just think that, maybe this is just a tactic. I don't necessarily agree with every tactic. I mean, I've always said that there's a lot of people that support Trump because he's a strange bedfellow, not because they think that he's a decent person, not that they think that he's a great leader, just that he's a better alternative to the other. And to me, that's a rational position to take if that's the basis upon which you make that decision. You know what I'm saying? You may not be reasonable in getting there, but if that's what's on the table and that's what you're dealing with, that's a rational decision to go one way or the other. But and then there's some people that just have a just general distrust of the government. So they just always are going to think this type of thing. It's not about discrediting Trump or whatever. It's just basically about, the government is always, doing this type of stuff just because, or they may even be thinking like, well, that's not the stage part. That's part if they think it was a real assassination attempt, because some people might think that, like maybe Israel was behind this dude. I mean, had he been successful, I'm pretty sure they would have said that. But, since he wasn't, he was his teacher, it's staged. And, it's crazy. They got him on video beforehand, checking out the spot. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a team that's directing him and telling him where he needs to go and what he needs to do. It's just one guy going out there, you know what I'm saying, kind of assessing the situation. And,
it's funny, though, as you mentioned that there was no one telling him what to do, like there was no script. Or that's what you're kind of saying, right? There was no script.
If this was all an elaborate, like he's just this patsy or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to freestyle this stuff. I mean, you can literally go, first of all, they just tell you to run down there. You don't have to scout anything. If this is staged, you don't have to scout. You don't have to nothing. You just basically show up and on cue, you know what I'm saying, and deliver for the camera. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there more videos come out where they show like this dude. Because to me it was crazy. You saw like the first video; it wasn't very clear, and I thought like, wow, the Flash just tried to kill the president. You know what I'm saying? Because it looked a whole lot faster when it was all grainy and all this other stuff like that. But and then the question was like, did this dude come running from a full hallway and somehow get through the metal detector and beyond these people before they even really start doing stuff? And it's like, and then you look at the video. So what happens before he charges the metal detector?
So that security thing is a big piece. That's why I was pushing back on you earlier during the show. But go ahead and explain, because in your opinion, the security was not good enough, right? It was weak.
Well, first of all, the fact that they were successful, you can make an argument that they were good enough. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, I don't mean to disparage people to do something dangerous. I'm not going to be sitting here being a office manager for two different law firms and a podcaster and be sitting there talking about people that's risking their lives, you know what I'm saying, for the president, policemen and stuff like that, firemen, military, you know what I'm saying? I can objectively look at something and say that this is where you made a mistake, whatever. But again, their lives are in danger and all this other stuff. And I understand it's even like with paramedics. Always when you call a paramedic, everything's a rush. You're like, this person, this, whatever. But they doing this stuff all the time. They're not in a slight rush mode. They're trying to be calm and whatever. So it's just a different cadence for them than it is for the people that need the help. So, again, I don't want those people to be panicky.
The officer that got shot, was that, I'm sorry, we just described
the first dude. That's the person. Let me set it up for you. Okay. So, again, I apologize for not having the video. I'm concerned that if I flip over to focus up, to access it, you know what?
Don't worry about it.
You know what? I'm gonna try something right there. I'm gonna try something right here. Okay, so I just stole the focus up screening. So
okay, while he's looking for that, let me explain what I was thinking, because I didn't know if that first person
So I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it. I got it. I just cheated. I just cheated and changed this to focus up. So here goes this dude running. All right. So let me see. I don't know if I can. I can't pause it. So he's running through this. That dude right there is the dude that he shot. Okay. That first the dude that's shooting at him now. The dude that's shooting at him now is the first dude that this dude shot. So let me try to run it back again. So here he comes through. He sees this dude running with a rifle, and that dude shoots him. Did you see his back there, police? He's the one that got shot. But all these other dudes are just kind of posted up and chilling. These are people.
Nice guy. Hold on. You're saying that the guy that's holding the gun with the circle around the gun.
Can you see my? So you see the guy that says police on his back, right? So circle, that's the shooter. Okay, he shoots that guy. You see now there's the circle around his. You see the police.
Mm-hmm.
That's the police that's still shooting. That the gun is still circled. That's the dude that the guy shot, but he's got body armor on. So that's why he didn't just drop.
I didn't know because I thought it was the other dude across because I thought maybe he shot his. He could have shot because he let off three rounds.
But they actually show you when he shoots. So when he comes in through there, we're gonna all Zapruder film this. You know what I'm saying? So he points at him right there, and that's basically when and he has to shoot that dude. So they engage fire. That's what happened. But the most important thing is that if you look in the background, there's two doors. There's a door that has a group of people sitting by it, and then there's like a door slightly to the left. So that's the door he came out of. He didn't come running down the hallway. When he first walked in, he walked in calm with like a trench coat on. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he looked kind of suspicious walking in with a trench coat, right? But he walked into that door, and literally there's a dude that follows him with a dog, and he's sort of like watching him, like hey, his spider sense clearly is kind of going off, and he's even watching that dude in that room. He's looking at whatever he does in that room, and at some point he checks down and starts to walk away. So once he does that,
okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The second that dude with the dog walks out and just sort of like checks down, this dude comes charging out of that room with that rifle into. He's just leaving that room now, and now he charges through this metal detector, and then he starts charging, and he's caught all these people sleeping. The dude over here is just not facing, whatever. These people up against the wall, they're just this dude, whatever. Everybody's just like back. His back is still turned. You know what I'm saying? So my point is that, like I said, you hear footsteps running, and you know what the circumstance is. I'm immediately thinking again. You see this dude right here, this plain clothes. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. But when this happens, his back is just completely chilling.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you think that the the people that have oversight over them, the managers or whatever, you think those people are going to be reprimanded, or are they going to be given accolades? Because Trump gave him accolades. He thought, they took him down within 45 seconds. I don't think it should have been 2 seconds, 3. What do you think? Your thoughts, though? You think there was a big breach in security here?
I can't say it was a big breach because I want to repeat that they succeeded. Not only did they capture this guy, but they captured him alive. Mm-hmm. I mean, this dude should have been absolutely Pulp Fiction running through there. You know what I'm saying? And you see him like with his shirt off, and he's not sitting in the pile of blood. Now I'm colorblind, so I don't really pick up. Like when I watch boxing matches, they're like, "Oh, he's bleeding from the mouth." I can't even see it. So you know what I'm saying? But my recollection of what people describe it, he's not just sitting there with bullet holes and in a puddle of his own blood. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely seeing clean skin, light skin. You know what I'm saying? I'm not seeing dark blotches or whatever and stuff like that. So I'm saying,
like a Splash Brother was down there.
Yeah. Well, again, because like I said, I watched a video where this deer got shot by a 50 cal. And it's a completely different situation when they're explaining the whole situation. So, but again, I don't want these people to be reprimanded. I just want them to be successful and better at their jobs. You know what I'm saying? Just because it just, again, you have a dangerous job. And honestly, I'm concerned for them because, if you turn your back and all this stuff like that, they get shot. Luckily, he shot the dude with the body armor. I don't know if the dude in the suit, maybe he had on Kevlar underneath that. I hope he did. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just not an issue of the safety of the president, the employees and stuff like that. It's it's everybody involved. It's policemen. I don't necessarily want policemen to get shot by criminals either. So I'm concerned for everybody who's not a criminal. You know what I'm saying? Not people that are being accused of criminals.
I don't think it was a big breach myself, and because I understand too that there were multiple layers of security. That was like the first, he only got 3 seconds past that. But this is what a lot of the conspiracy theorists have been using to justify that this was a conspiracy. I don't know what, they're non-experts in the area of security. Some of them are, some people do bodyguard, but that might be a smaller level than what we see going on here. So I think that snap conclusion and, not waiting for like some type of assessment to come out.
Now, these people don't. These people don't necessarily just take a total leap of faith. I want to give you guys some
conspiracy theories.
I want to toss the conspiracy theorists a few bones. I want to toss them a few bones on this situation because before this thing played out, Caroline Levitt is sitting there talking about, we got something prepared for you later, and shots are gonna be fired. You know what I'm saying? So they're literally saying things that are, it's just like, wow, it may be a major coincidence. But it's in hindsight, it's very suggestive.
I think still this is innumeracy. It's the people don't know math. Like when you know math, you understand that coincidences occur all the time. And the only reason you look like that is because you're not looking at this thing mathematically. How often do people say things that are, that predict something or are a metaphor for what's going to happen a few minutes, a while later? I mean, it happens more frequently than we think. If we sat down and analyzed, again, they're putting the trailer before, what is it? The trailer before the horse.
Yeah,
and reaching these
the cart,
grand conclusions, like, before you do any study. Okay. I think who used to say this? I think Huey P. or forgot what political leader said this. He said, no research, no right to speak. Like, do some serious research.
So let me put on my conspiracy hat. Let me put on I don't got my 10-point hat. Hey, I'm fighting for you guys today. Devil's advocate. They would say mathematically, how many times you've seen all the interviews that she's done and she's never brought up, shots being fired. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just it's not to me. It's a term that's used with some type of regularity, but in this particular example, it's a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, but like I said, coincidences do happen, and we can't allow coincidences.
There's this thing called pareidolia. I think we want be familiar with things like this, and then I think they will influence your thoughts on it, because like pareidolia is what makes people see. It's interesting. They've done like little studies where if you're a Muslim, you're part of the Muslim world, you tend to see Allah, the Prophet Muhammad in things. If you're part of the Christian world, Christendom, you tend to see Jesus.
That's God working. That's God working for me. Yeah. Like that. If you're in the numerology, you'll be like seeing all these number patterns and everything. Yes. So I get it.
Confirmation bias all day. Yeah.
All right. So you want to pivot on to the next one, or you still want some?
Well, a little bit more on this guy. This guy, his name is Cole, Alan Cole. I think we forgot the guy's name.
Yeah, I remember. I definitely remember seeing Cole Allen or whatever on the video. And again, I didn't know if that was the source of the video, if that was the person. But at the end of the day, we know that this dude was like a substitute teacher. That he lived in Torrance. And
I will say this. There are some things, that do look suspicious. And I think the Karen Levitt things, we should, but jumping from things that look suspicious to all the way to this was staged, that's a gigantic leap. I'm just saying, like, reserve the idea that alternative explanations. Don't throw it away.
Yes.
But, where the evidence fits, that's where you should be at as of now. You can change. So as of now, the mainstream explanation seems the most simplest and is the most probable. I'm just going with that right now. If there's more evidence from that side, which I haven't seen, they never have the evidence. And they're required to have more.
Thank you very much, Dirty Money. Cole Allen, a 32-year-old gamer living with his parents. Yeah, he was a
I heard
substitute
31.
teacher.
Maybe he had a birthday.
Still, but basically, so it is established. So we appreciate that, brother. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So again, your comments are seen and appreciated. But yeah, so that's what's up.
And another thing too, these high profile people like presidents, I think people are not aware of how many death threats death threats that they get. Thousands. I think the president who received the most death threats in United States history, you know who this is, of course.
Probably be Obama.
Obama received the most threats. You know, but they have to separate credible threats, actionable threats from threats that are real. And I think, you know,
and there were many attempts. We didn't necessarily hear about them, but there were, you know, and the thing about it is, you know, it doesn't, honestly, this doesn't help the government to show you that these people got this close. Like literally all three times.
Really, did they get close though? It just seems like a big circus.
I don't know what that I don't know what that room looked like. I don't know if he, you know, how close it was.
They were downstairs.
Oh, okay.
So on the upper floor. There were multiple barriers. That's what I'm saying.
Mar-a-Lago, there was some exposure there. There was some. He
wasn't president then either, too. But yeah.
Still, well, again, and even that other one where I mean that dude, you know, he still had Secret Service, you know, protection, and when he got shot in the ear, allegedly, some people think allegedly, you know what I'm saying, that I'm just saying that you know that was sad that some kid could just basically just freestyle that and come that close to taking him out. I mean, it's like the Charlie Kirk situation. Say what you want about the dude. I mean, it's sad that some one lone dude could go, hey, I think I could pull this off, and then pull it off. I mean, that's horrific and terrible and you know, disheartening and a whole bunch of things. Save that when we get to that point. But I'm just saying that to me, I felt like they did a good job of stopping when they stopped them. I'm just telling you, Afro-agnostics, a dude running down the hallway would have been a red flag to me. A dude running down the hallway with a rifle in his hand would have been a super red flag. Honestly, it's probably good that they didn't start shooting until he got in the clear, because you know he potentially had other people in the crossfire, like when he was first, but they weren't even facing that dude. That was my thing. They weren't even. He caught them so with their pants down that you know it just, that to me, I was very concerned for their life. So yeah. This is a great question. Like I said, this dude should have been Pulp Fiction. I'm just saying that, you know, we know that with cops, a lot of times I've gotten into this argument with Brother Walk many times, because he goes like, look, you know, you don't have to shoot him that many times. You know, when you have a lethal situation where the police shoot somebody, they're like, you know, you can just shoot him once. And I'm like, in the movies that works. In real life, no. When you shoot a person, you've made the decision that this is a shoot to kill situation. And in order to give yourself the best chances to kill, you have to empty your clip. People get mortally wounded and are still very functional. They can still shoot you. We had a sister, you know, I call her sister because human beings, I call them brothers and sisters. I understand some people take issue with this. But this is a white lady, Sister ER, that was shot on live TV. She was a news reporter, and she was sitting there talking, and someone that was, you know, at the news worked when the same whatever had the issue, and you know they just decided to kill her. And I mean, literally, he points the gun up to her and he's like, "You bitch." And then he puts the gun down. Then he's like filming himself. And then he shoots her mortally. And she runs. She shoots him and the cameraman. And they run away and then they die. Because again, if you're not shot in the shooter's apricot or some other, you know, place like that, you know, you get shot in the shooter's apricot, you're gonna fall like a marionette. You're not gonna do nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I'm saying, but chances are you can be fatally wounded and still be functional. So that's why when they shoot, you know, they don't just you know, they aren't, yeah, exactly. They don't do no one round. They're gonna, yeah, you seen that video. And on my point. So it just lets you know. I remember there was a movie with not to be going too off the thing, but it was a movie with Sigourney Weaver and I forgot what the lady's name, but But it was the bottom line. It was a movie where it was a cop, and she was all bragging about how, like, you know, you don't have to kill somebody. You can just shoot them in the arm, and they drop the weapon. And like literally, this movie, it's probably a good thing that I don't tell it, because in case you don't see, it would be a spoiler alert. But you know, so they go through it with this movie. There's main 3 stars, a male, female, whatever. And like literally, she comes up against an assailant, and she shoots him in the arm, and the dude drops the weapon and catches it with his other hand and kills her partner. You know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is, the lesson afterwards is shoot to kill. Because again, you know, you're not shooting people to slow them down. You're not. When you make the decision to shoot as a police officer, whatever, it's to shoot to kill. Same situation is there. You Pulp Fiction this dude. It's just like this dude coming in through the door and fire at you, and you guys light this mug up. I'm just utterly amazed that this guy didn't get no headshot, no whatever. But
you know what? I think they tackled him, right? I think they tackled him. I think maybe too a lot to do with proximity and him holding a shotgun. Sometimes it's easier to just tackle somebody. I mean, he was moving quick than to shoot. Shots had already been fired. None of those shots, you know, they hit dude. But you know, it reminds me of when I was in high school. And, you know, we had beef with this other folks who went to this other high school, and they came up there looking for us one day. It was like 30 of them, man. You know, back then the security was kind of weak. You know, they got past security. It was like 30 of them. And
that's kind of dangerous stuff. 30 is a big number, but you come into a school that's got more than 30 people.
but you know, we not together. We not prepared. We scattered or whatever. They roam in the hallways. We like, man, them East Warren, you know the group they from. East Warren dudes is up here, man. And they caught my boy Rico. They didn't, you know, they caught him in, man, bro. They surround. All you hear is boom, 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 boom. Like the doors, like, you know what I'm saying? Security getting there, break it up. Man, this dude did not have a scratch on him. He wasn't hurt, wasn't bothered at all. And we were puzzled, like, man, how long they was stumping him to death? And then my boy, you know, said it a little bit later, man, they was pretty much hitting each other. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's wild. It's not in the movie.
There's like, how many people, you know, you think about the space available on the person's body to be hit, and you got 30 people hovering over, you're not really getting hit that much. You know, it's a lot of confusion. So we learned from that. Now, when you rush somebody, it's better to have 3 or 4 people to effectively beat somebody down.
It's like basketball, the fast break. They say that, look, you don't want to have too many people on a fast break because all it does is complicate it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know, again,
this is a situation kind of metaphoric in a way to that. That's why he didn't get hurt.
So at the end of the day, they caught the dude, they stopped the dude. I'm glad that nobody else was hurt because, again, you know, there's a lot of people that work for Trump that, you know, they're just employees, you know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not saying that he deserved to be killed for this, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want to imply that. But my point is that, you know, you be going after one person, and I'll be concerned about the other people.
Was he a patsy or not, man? Was he a patsy? Was he on
see, that's the thing about it. See, that's the thing about it. See, that's the thing about it. I don't know. I don't know. He could, this could have been staged. He could have been a patsy, but guess what? You know, like I said, why do you even have to go through the walkthrough? If all he had to do, if all they were going to do is what was staged, is he just runs through that situation, then, you know, he doesn't need all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? He's,
you know what's funny too? When you talk about, when people talk about the script, they like, there's this, you know, and they seem to know when the actors go off a script and when they're on script. They seem to intuitively know that. But, you know, you can have a controlled environment with a director. Everybody has a script and they still fuck up. Like, why take that risk? They have to shoot again. You know how many times I think that great movie producer, he you know, he does a lot of what do you call it? Shoots or whatever, shots or whatever. So anyway,
a lot of takes.
A lot of takes. Yeah, a lot of takes. Yeah. You know anything about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just not to go too far deep in it, but it's just that, you know, again, in my opinion, this video makes them look bad. So if you staged it and those people were in on the staging, you know, ideally, you know, it's staged. You want to stage in a way that your people look a lot more competent than that.
Yeah.
I mean, really on all 3 of those fronts. You know what I'm saying? There were many lapses with the with the situation with when Trump first got shot. I mean, they were forewarning. There were people saying, "Hey, this, that, and the other." So, there were a lot of criticisms, and they were criticizing that, like I guess there was a female that was heading the Secret Service at that point in time. So, there was a lot of fallout behind it. So,
Manosphere got on her, huh?
Yeah, so the atmosphere, you ain't there's no way safe. So I'm saying, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying that it was wild for that dude to even think to do this, to think that he's gonna pull it off. And honestly, I think it undermines your message. It just gives them something to talk about. You had no shot at pulling this shit off. You know what I'm saying? It's just, to me, it was just all bad for everything. And you got people, you putting people's lives in danger that it's just doing the job. You know what I'm saying?
What's the intent? What was the motive behind this conspiracy theory?
To distract from Iran, to distract from Epstein. I mean, just think about it. Everybody was saying that the Iran was a distraction from Epstein, and then Iran got so bad that he was like, "Hey, I'm wishing I had that old Epstein thing back." You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah. So I mean,
so these are all distractions. We can look forward to more distraction.
But these are terrible distractions. But these are terrible distractions because we're all extremely in the know.
Is the points going to go up or something?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now he did get a bump. That first assassination attempt,
he got like a half a point.
Yeah, it served him. It served him politically. That second one, just kind of didn't. Everybody was like, "All right, now you revisiting the oldies too much." But that third one got really people. You know what I'm saying. So again,
he threw the fist up.
Yeah, but again, I think he pimped that moment. I think it was real. I think it was crazy, and good for him that and for his family. I mean, these politics are ugly, and I just look. If we're gonna wish, I just wish that a person would be correct. I don't wish they die. You know what I'm saying? I don't wish someone loses their father. I don't wish someone loses their husband. I definitely don't wish somebody loses their son. If I'm gonna wish, I understand that, but what I'm gonna wish is that they get right, that they turn it around. That's what I'm gonna wish. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's that conspiracy theory. Another conspiracy theory is about this SPLC. Is it a race baiting scam? And what they're arguing is that they did some investigation, some super investigation, and they found that this money was going to people that work for some of these hate crimes. You know what I'm saying? From some of these hate organizations. You know what I'm saying? So wow, you're an organization that's you're trying to fight these organizations, but you seem to be funding these organizations. And then the question is, are you funding these organizations so that you can prop up a boogeyman, so that you can even justify your existence? Even though you're a nonprofit organization, and that your money is actually very well tracked, and we see where it's going. So, to what end are you serving? You know what I'm saying? It's really a convoluted theory that's saying that, for all intents and purposes, that people are pretending to be raped so that we turn our attention to rape. But rape is not the real problem. It's just the construed concept that's framed up by these people that are complaining about it, ignoring the fact that whatever money is being funneled to these organizations because they're actually paying off informants. You know what I'm saying? This is something that's done on every level of investigation and infiltration, on every level. You know what I'm saying? As far as paying off informants, but the money that they're getting from the informants that they're questioning, this is not the totality of the funding for these organizations. You know what I'm saying? But these organizations exist independent of informants getting funded. You know what I'm saying? These organizations are really doing these big things. They're literally saying, Student X, literally saying that, that these people manufactured people like Timothy McVeigh and like the Oklahoma bombing and stuff like that.
That's what incensed me the most. Like, why would a civil rights, why does racism need to be manufactured in the United States?
That's the point. It's like I said, you don't have to pretend about people being raped. People are actually being raped. I don't have to create a crime that's going on actually in big numbers. You know what I'm saying? Quite regularly. So you know what I'm saying? I don't need to feign or fake this.
It sounds like that conspiracy theory is coming from people who who, want to make racism look like it doesn't exist.
And
They're going to minimize it.
And think about it. And that's it. You ask yourself, why are the people that benefit the most from this being taken away complaining about it? You know what I'm saying? Why are the people that side with the people, like when you talk about, like, for example, now you can argue that some of the people that SPLC determines to be a hate group, and this is really like one of the underlying factors. They're like, people that fight abortions because they feel like abortion is murder. So these people are basically considering people that protest, abortion clinics are like hate clinic, are hate. They're basically saying, or they talked about, one of the organizations I think that was under their, sort of like watch or scrutiny was Charlie Kirk's movement, Turning Point. Yep. So they felt like, yes. So you're calling Turning Point a hate, thing, and this is basically an organization that's really just about spreading the word of Jesus and about spreading love and information to the young people on the college campuses and stuff like that. They're obviously gonna basically, you must be the bad guy, but it's way more complicated than that.
I think when we define that term, like extreme dislike, aberration, or aversion to something, when that's promoted by a group, feelings of animosity, hostility. I'm looking at the definition here: malice and violence towards members of a certain race, ethnicity, nation, or religion, gender identity, sexual orientation. That's generally what's considered hate. And then also groups that threaten women that are involved in abortions and things like that. So
it's one thing to protest. It's another thing to be hostile and violent. You know what I'm saying? It's another thing to be blowing up abortion clinics. There's
some of these groups. For instance, I can't remember. Some of these groups that were against abortion, they show up at like sacred events, like people's funerals and things like that. People who've been targeted by violence, they'll show up at their funeral to protest. I mean, groups like that are, Farrakhan is definitely, I think, on the he's on the SPLC as well for his
comments about
anti-Semitism and stuff like that. So I don't know, but SPLC, there's just a little history I mentioned before, I think on the last show, but this is a civil rights organization. It was started, the co-founder was Jonathan, it'll come to me in a minute, but he's he's that black guy that has the light skin. And anyway, I'll come to me in a minute, but he co-founded it. He was a part of SNCC.
Was Morris Dees, Julian Bond.
Julian Bond. Worked within the NAACP, SNCC, Civil Rights or New King, so forth. He established it in part initially to go after hate groups, but they also go after systematic racism in institutions. They look at racial outcomes. They take people to court for being in violation of the civil rights laws of 64, the Voting Rights Act of 65. They've been a leading force behind trying to protect the voting right, the sections to the Voting Rights Act against groups who are trying to gut it and get rid of it. So it's not coincidental that one thing that when they targeted part of COINTELPRO is that when they will railroad people and put these false cases on them, and like the Free Huey campaign, Free Huey, it was great, successful campaign, but a lot of resources, it involves a lot of resources, the things that could be used to develop the community and to do other things, provide food and other services for the community. Now they have to be focused on legal services. So it is a way to occupy an organization, keep them busy while they dismantle what we see right now with this Supreme Court decision.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like I said, the notion of fabricating, it's such an insult that you need to fabricate racism, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To talk about it. I mean, again, this is it's like the whole argument against critical race theory. You know what I'm saying? And I've always said that look, white people should not feel guilty for things that other white people have done. Now, you can feel some type of responsibility for fixing a problem, you know what I'm saying, or contributing to a problem, or failing to contribute to a solution. There's all type of things that you can find guilt for, but it's not an issue. The fact that your forefathers did something that this should be an issue. I'm gonna tell you right now, if my forefathers did something that I didn't like or appreciate, I'd just be like, that was terrible that they did that, and I'm gonna work towards not doing that. I'm going to be a contributor. I'm going to be part of the solution. I'm not going to be part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? There's no need to be feeling so self-defensive about something that happened historically that you absolutely had nothing to do with. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, they just get super in their feelings about this type of situation. And then they just like, nah, I don't even want you to talk about something that actually happened, about something that's
what part of it is, though, too? That fragility, that white fragility is tied into the fact that they have already derived a large sense of pride from what their ancestors have done, from the take that they have on it. The 76 boys, Madison, Washington, Hamilton. These were great men and patriarchs. And then when they see
we're messy,
Native Americans,
we're messy for them. If you take it out, it's easy to clean it up and sterilize it when you talk about us. And it's very messy for them. Again, to me, two things can be true. You can be smart and come up with a very good, great thing and still be a terrible person. And I can celebrate the good and I can still point out the bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to act like...
We're going to talk about that, man, because this is the 250th anniversary. This is a different topic, but just putting it out there, we're going to have to do a show on this because that implication that you just said, you can be a bad guy and do something good. That's true. But I don't the whole notion that the Constitution or the Declaration, these are good documents.
We can definitely. Again, that's religion. That's religion too. Because people talk about it where they're just I can sit here and say that yes, human beings, they put together a great structure of things. Obviously, I always challenge it with my father. I talk about when he defends all this stuff. I go, look, the Constitution was something they built that completely allowed for the ugly circumstances that were going on at the time. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't this great moral document with slavery and all these things going for and allowed and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can't act like this thing was something that was manly and pure, considering the absolutely ugly environment which would not only sprouted out of, but operated under and within and allowed. You know what I'm saying? So it's real messy. But still, when you talk about from a government standpoint, it is an accomplishment. When you talk about how we interpret it today and where we're trying to take it to do, this is a great theoretical accomplishment, government-wise. I mean,
I disagree.
Well, I'm just saying there's elements. Definitely free speech. You would believe in free speech, right?
Hold on. Let me see.
Well, after a fact, I don't want to go too deep into this, but I'm just saying there's certain basic. Of
course I do, but
there's certain points. There's certain hit points that they talk about that most people think is pretty evolved because human beings came from a very dark place. We have evolved much beyond.
Amendments were very good. I'm glad you brought that point. They were very good, but I just want to, when we delve into this at some other point, they did become part of the Constitution. You're correct. But they were not a part of the original Constitution. They came later.
Oh yeah.
But because of
because human beings evolve. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's just the nature of getting better. My generation, your generation, our generation, we are definitely less tolerant of things. It's inherent. It's just our nature. We have the intellect to be better than that. But you know what I'm saying? And I would say
the jewel in the Constitution for me is that it sets up the provisions, the infrastructure for a republic. It is not is anti-king. So that's to me, beyond that, it's not a great document at all. And there's a lot of other republics that we can pull similar, infrastructure from.
To be revisited at another time.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, yes, the notion that that people need to create that people need to stage racism to address racism is crazy. There's plenty enough. That tree is just blooming over for them to just grab any fruit to address. So,
but you see how the conservative perspective is embedded in that very notion. You can tell where it comes from. And Todd Blanche at the Department of Justice, fucking Todd Blanche, Trump's personal lawyer, the guy that flew down to meet with just Jessalyn Maxwell, he comes up with this indictment, and Student X is looking at it, and some others, I guess, Black Mike, who I call just closet Trump supporters, are looking at this as gold. Like, this is infallible. It's the truth. We don't even need to.
And other pundits see the many holes in this stuff. Again, Trump is a litigious person, and he's not a person that necessarily wins by.
You gotta break that down, litigious, man. Come on.
It's basically a person who's heavy into litigation. Basically, use litigation as a weapon. So you're talking about a person that Trump is a very successful person from a financial standpoint, much so as a president. He became much more successful financially as a president. His presidency has served him financially very well. And I want to say that he has a lot of resources. So a person like him can go after somebody and sue, and he's got a lot of resources. And you as the defendant, if you don't have the proper resources, he can beat you with a war of attrition. He can beat you down with the pressure and exposure. With the situation with the networks, where they ended up paying them like some $14 million settlement or something like that. It wasn't an issue about him being right about the Kamala Harris, CBS, whatever, editing the video and stuff like that. The issue was they needed an approval for this merger. And the bottom line is like, look, we need to make this go away so that we can make this other money. This is a mere cost analysis thing. So again, a person that will just wage a bunch of lawsuits, because I'm gonna tell you something, frivolous lawsuits come with a problem. I mean, it's a price tag. If a judge determines that this is frivolous, this can come back on you in a really bad way. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying that you expose yourself being litigious. I think I might be leaving out a syllable on it, but the bottom line is it's a strategy for the rich because you're able to deal with the repercussions of it. But it's also a pressure tactic to people that don't have the resources to defend, to make them cave, to discourage them, just because, again, you don't have the money to defend yourself. If you were to make it all the way through trial, you probably win on the merits, but the cost would not be worth you doing all that stuff. So you basically end up selling because, again, like I said, it's a war of financial attrition that you got to be a rich person to even, to battle with.
What perspective, I'm just saying as a Black man, that you would have to be in to just take this as legitimate claim, like just looking at the claim itself, saying, yeah, they did this.
All of this is narrative reinforcement. You already bought into your mind that the Democrats are the worst thing for the Black people. They're the things that are breaking up the Black family because they're the ones that are siding with all this gay stuff that is basically messing up heterosexual families. They're ones that all this trans stuff that's making it unsafe for our bathrooms. They're the ones that are, when you talk about welfare, these policies were like you couldn't have a man in the home. So basically, this encouraged a lot of men that were in situations where the best way to feed their family was to leave their family so they could get financial assistance. So they talk about all these programs that basically you think they're supposed to help you. The crime bill, Bill Clinton and stuff like that, and Black people get mass incarcerated as compared to white people with cocaine versus Black people with crack. So then you look at all of these things, and you're basically now you're just like. And you believe that this is deliberate, not that this is just bad planning. You know what I'm saying? But if it's deliberate, then you're sitting there going, okay, so now there's this greater scheme at play. So these people, we got to basically question anything that comes from these people.
But the fact that one side that represents groups that are knowingly right now instructing.
Shout out to Brother Yusuf.
Right.
You want me to give you the quick answer? He goes, or people like that, they say, well, we don't, what voter rights? We didn't have no voter rights. They didn't take away nothing we already had. We never had any rights. This is all a scam. They discredit that stuff. You say that you're saying you have all this evidence of what these organizations that have actually done for Black people and progressed our, the civil rights movement. I mean, these absolutely improve our existence, our in America. You know what I'm saying? Our standard of living in America. It's grown drastically from 1960. It's an insult for anybody that actually lived during those times to act like we ain't made like great progression.
We can look. Let's look at just one metric: the rate of poverty, post civil rights, before civil rights. It's a humongous difference. So I don't understand like that the fact that it's pre and post civil rights suggests that the difference in the poverty rate has a lot to do with civil rights.
But when you're dealing with narratives, they reach back further than that. The narrative is going to say that you're talking about civil rights. What about the Civil War? The Civil War was waged by the Republicans defending against the Democrats. I'm just saying that's how they couch it. You know what I'm saying? The Republicans. I mean, but I'm saying we understand that there was a flipping of the, go see the other show that we had about the whole, the Southern Switch and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the bottom line.
They're knowingly and actively going after civil rights.
That's the crazy thing about it to me. You don't have to tell me all these politics. They're literally who is the one that is not trying to hold police accountable for killing Black people that don't deserve to be killed. If you deserve to be killed, you deserve to be killed. But you talk about a brother who's just sleeping in the back of his car seat when he's got a gun on him, legally that he has a gun, and he gets shot because some cop gets all panicky, you know what I'm saying? And I know he didn't mean to shoot him. He wasn't thinking about shooting him. He didn't walk in that situation, but he wasn't qualified enough to be a cop, and he negligently took his life. There should be repercussions for that type of thing. And Fox News and the Republicans are basically trying to fault the Black people for this. George Floyd, you're just talking about this dude having a drug problem or having a fake $20 bill as opposed to a cop leaning on his throat for like however, So again,
Eric Gardner.
It goes without saying when you I know you didn't say irregardless.
Huh? Eric Garner, right?
Oh, I thought you said irregardless.
No.
That's not a good word, everybody. Don't do it. There's no such thing. Irregardless is the secret handshake to the moron club. It is regardless. The list is the negative. Irregardless would be two negatives. It's literally a word. It's the poster child for bad grammar. Irregardless is not a word. It's regardless. So I'm just saying, yes.
I've learned something today.
In academic circles, irregardless is literally irregardless is the equivalent of nigger.
Hold on. I do know this though. See how it sound a little irrational. That's not a word either. A lot of MCs like to use the word dramatical, fresh.
Well, you said irrational, but irrational is different because it's rational and earth. That's the negative, and so that's a legitimate word. Dramatical is extra because it's like dramatic. You don't need to say necessarily dramatical. It's an extra, but I think it's something that people use. But irregardless, Google it. It's a terrible word, and it's literally a word that nerds go when you say it, because that's a word that you're using to try to sound smart, and it's really the stupidest thing that you could possibly say. So anyway, so that happens.
Don't use that around English teachers or
no. Or the Memphis Society. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's literally, like I said, it's the secret handshake to the moron club. That's how a person goes sit there and go, I'm telling one of my bosses, I tell them I go, you're a smart dude, you're a brilliant dude. You need to stop using that word. Stop it. So anyways, so
how come? So you got the SPLC. I'm saying they started in 71. I don't know who was Jimmy. Maybe Richard Nixon is in office. Then Jimmy Carter. All this time since the 70s for 5-6 decades, they worked hand in glove.
Hand in hand. They
Department of
Intel. They provided the intel. Yes, exactly. Expose these groups.
I mean, they've been closer than probably the CIA and what's the Israel equivalent? Starts with an M.
Oh yeah. The Mossad,
Mossad, I think, right?
Mossad, yeah.
I mean, they've been working closely together, sharing information. Just November last year, that relationship ended in the Trump administration.
Consigning with what? Yes, exactly.
The Trump administration. All these Republicans, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W., George Sr., all had great relations with the SPLC. All of a sudden, in November, the Trump administration discovers that this group, they've been all along funding the racism that didn't even really exist. Wasn't
it was like that whole Charlotte situation. Good people on both sides. That organization was a target of the SPLC. This all comes back to that. They're all basically saying that. And I'm just telling you that Oklahoma Timothy McVeigh, he was part of a real organization that was really about anti-government, and they really killed some people. And
I'm gonna tell you, I'm going to cut you off, bro. I just want to say this real quick. There is a book called The Turner Diaries. I encourage everyone to read it. Great fictional work, but it gives you the perspective of these white nationalist groups, like the Proud Boys, the Oath Takers. They have predecessors. And this, I can't remember, I think this book came out in the 80s. But Timothy McVeigh had that book in his back pocket when they captured him. It's a big, important read in the right white. I used to have a book with all the right white wing organizations and all of that, but that book is almost like second to the Bible. It's up there on that tier. So definitely there are, what was that suggesting? Because the case looks at SPLC from 2022 to sometime in 2025. It's looking at some corruption that they supposedly did, some financing of, like you said, these groups within that time frame. What does all this Oklahoma bombing Timothy McVeigh have to do?
Well, because they're saying that they were basically people that they fabricated and put up. That it's literally, because again, that's when we talk about the hoteps, it's a pejorative term, but we're talking about sort of like the rah-rah black people that would have you believe that things that actually serve our interests are basically just distractions or bones that the authority tosses us to just basically to
sounds like us. Conservatives and Republicans are writing this.
Well, of course, that's 100%. That's exactly what exactly that's what's going on. So when they sit here and tell you that, you weren't getting DEI is BS. You weren't getting the benefits of DEI anyways. DEI is mainly benefiting white women, and it's technically true. White women are the biggest benefit of DEI because there are more white women in this country than there are black people. However, there's black people also getting a lot of benefits from this. And again, DEI was not about putting unqualified people in positions to work or whatever. This was always a function about people that were qualified, giving them an opportunity to be represented in these places. Because the fact of the matter is, there was, for a very long time, people that were overqualified were not getting jobs because people were nepotism, hiring their friends, hiring people that look like them. And, that was happening. You'd have a professor, a doctor with all this other stuff, but you got this bum that's just got basically like an AA. You know what I'm saying? So it's just,
what do these people say that are against, because we have some that we co-host with, and
well, they were talking meritocracy before. Their whole argument was that we believe in meritocracy. I don't think that meritocracy is not the issue. I think we all believe in meritocracy. It's just that the argument against DEI wasn't one about meritocracy. It was always about replacing it with nepotism. What it was always about is no longer having the eyes on you so you can do whatever the hell you want. I mean, that's what it is. You have all these organizations that were basically monitoring and making sure that there was this type of representation. And again, not representation of people that were unqualified, representation of people that were qualified, just making sure that they got an opportunity too, and that they were represented in these organizations.
So a lot of these groups, when they come into the private sector or even the public sector, they're analyzing an organization. They're looking at who gets hired, how many applicants, the racial background of the applicants, your gender background, age background,
your
how many work at this level, how many are working at this level, who's on the hiring team. And when they look and they see this racial, it's racially homogenous, mostly white Anglo-Saxon. Is that the result of meritocracy, or is that the result of racism? That's the essential question.
It wasn't that long ago. I don't remember when it was. I'm terrible with the passage time. I apologize, but I promise you I'm not that old that it was a whole long time ago. But there was this whole scandal. I'm sure you can probably Google it, where they were literally, these temp agencies, they got in trouble for requesting for All-American. That was the thing. They were saying we were looking for All-American candidates, but it was code. It was code for blue-haired, blonde-eyed, pretty females. You know what I'm saying, for positions and stuff like that. So they were literally, it wasn't no meritocracy or nothing like that, unless the merit was how good you looked. How good you look for some white dude, you know what I'm saying? So it's just that this is, it was code. So there was that discrimination going on that level.
And that's the essential thing, like the discrimination already pre-existed. That's what they seem to not acknowledge. Like there is
that's like the Jewish. That was like your problem. That was like your problem about the Jewish Israel controlling everything. Israel didn't even exist till like what, 1948. Yeah, this machination of Israel.
And so we
had a whole world. We had a whole world of existence before then. The world didn't start in 1948.
Yeah,
the United States was already an empire by then, right?
Yeah, the United States was an empire since 1783 when they signed the peace, the Accords, the peace treaty in Paris. They had already whisked away the Northwest Territory, and those are that land became the states of Michigan, Illinois, Illinois, and some of those other I states and Kentucky and so forth, Tennessee. So, but anyway, what were you saying about the
I think we pretty much covered this. I mean, the bottom line is the notion of creating a boogeyman when you got a ton of serial killers already out there, it's an insulting argument. You know what I'm saying? So that's the problem. And again, a lot of it's them. Go ahead. What are you saying?
No, I'm saying it's just when you look, because they still do, what do you call it? Metacognitive studies. That's where you take a bunch of different studies and you just amalgamate their outcomes and so forth. Racism and employment is still very present and very real. 60%, I think they do applicants that are Black, resume exactly the same. And I think there's a 30-40% difference in who gets called for the interview and stuff like that. So the question is, that's not a meritocracy. So how do you mitigate that if you take away DEI, which is just infrastructure to reinforce, to make real the sections of the civil rights legislation? How else do you do it? Are you going to ignore it? That's what they want you to do.
Again, I'm on record saying the two most influential non-biblical characters on earth, and obviously my parents are the most, but I'm just saying as far as people that taught me whatever, but it's because they're in my existence. But I'm just talking about Malcolm X and Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee always talk about how, like, look, you can't just work out. You need to chart it. You need to see what's happening. You need to objectively discern what your game plan is and how it's being executed and how it's playing out for you, what its results are. And if you're not charting the results, you're just hoping that they're working out. And that's not a responsible way of controlling anything. So if race is an issue, if race is a problem, you can't ignore it by fixing it. Or you can't fix it by ignoring it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, again, people tell you all the time, they're like, well, I don't see color. I just think that's an insult. I always tell people, I go, a white person doesn't make me feel good. When they say, I don't see color, I just see you a person. I go, check this out. I'm a Black person. If you don't see me for what I am, you're not seeing me. You're seeing something else. In fact, you're sterilizing me to see yourself. And I'm just saying that I'm something different. We are brothers and sisters on a level and in a fashion, but there's something distinct about me that I don't want you to ignore to make me
palatable to you. Because you're making a big pronouncement or a highlight of the color of my skin. That's only indicative of
in order to accept me, you have to accept everything. At least you have to see everything. You don't have to agree with everything. But I'm just saying
you're
that
not ignoring that I have a shared history, a shared struggle, and a shared political destiny with a group of people. Like, you're not acknowledging, you're just looking at it on the surface level, looking at the color of my skin, thinking that you don't, you're wiping me away. That's benign neglect. You're disappearing, erasing me. No, that's not cool.
And see, again, this is an example of
solve it.
racism. This is an example of racism. You know what I'm saying? Where someone thinks that, I made
Thank
a
you,
funny
that's
joke.
probably
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we appreciate your click, but we also appreciate your example. Again, just because you disagree with somebody, there's no need that we gotta be calling people names. And that was a very these are very black, you know what I'm saying? So it's the nature of what it is. So it's like they revealed it in trying to be critical, they reveal themselves. And I say, hey, I'm not turning the light down, I'm turning the light up. But so we talked about that. Since let's talk about something that's what's your name is Tommy McDaniel. Let's talk about somebody who's probably your hero. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk. You know what I'm saying? So the Charlie Kirk assassinated by the government. Look, I don't know what happened. It could have been the Mossad. It could have been the United States government. It could have been some machination like COINTEL. There's so many things that could be. I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to tell you none of that stuff. I don't know. But I will say that based on the information I have, I don't even really see the motivation to go there. I mean, this dude is, his father turned him in. He confessed to his youth pastor. His youth pastor talked to his father, or no, he confessed to his father. They talked to his youth pastor, the youth pastor, who convinced him to go in there and turn his son in. You know what I'm saying? To offer up this information, because I don't think they had this. If they had this information once they got him, and then were able to investigate and all this other stuff. But you're talking about the Reddit text. The Reddit, comments, you know what I'm saying? You're talking about the text between him and his significant other, you know what I'm saying? And I understand Candace goes, oh, did you see the format of it? It looked all kind of fictitious. Dude, again, I've been in law since like 1984, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to give you the original source with metadata, with all the metadata and all this everything. You're going to get a clean, pretty thing that presents the picture and nothing else. We will organize it in a way that makes sense. So when they're giving it to the public, that's exactly what they're doing. They're not trying to give you everything. They're going to give you what you need, because look, you're going to investigate and find something on the level, but they're basically trying to control the narrative. But the bottom line is, you complaining about the format, that is something that is strategically done. That's something that can be done just by the software that renders it to usable information. You know what I'm saying? So it's really a weak attack. But again, you got the gun that is actually proven that type of a gun can do that type of a thing. I know they go, 30-06, that would just take his head off. But then they got videos of 30-06 shooting this deer. Didn't take the deer's head off, didn't take whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just how we talked about how people can get punched and no damage, or this dude gets shot up by all these Secret Service dudes and he's not whatever. There's so many factors that can come into play that it just doesn't play out how you might think, but it's still within the reasonable possibility of reality.
My thing is, if that's true and it's so self-evident, then his defense, and he's going to bring on some ballistic experts to verify that. But I haven't seen any ballistic experts look at that evidence as insufficient.
And if he's a patsy, why would you use a patsy with weak evidence? If you got a patsy, you're going to have a bulletproof case. You're going to have something tough. In fact, you don't even have to bring him alive. You can just turn him in dead and be like, this is the guy, and create whatever narrative you want. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, all of this stuff is, this dude had a real issue with Charlie Kirk. He had the real skill and ability to pull out that shot. He had access to it. He had the weapon. The weapon was, that had all this other, all this evidence is suggesting he was the guy. And the big thing is that, like I said earlier, if you had a lot of respect for Charlie Kirk, like admiration, not just respect, admiration, you know what I'm saying? And this dude killed your guy. You guys, in your need to fulfill this conspiracy narrative or to meet it, you may be giving the actual villain a free pass and escaped for doing this terrible thing, you know what I'm saying, to you, to his family, to, you know what I'm saying? Again,
and that's one of the dangers of the conspiracy theory stuff, explanations. That's one of the dangers. I mean, a person that's innocent can or possibly be arrested, or a person that's guilty could be exonerated.
Yeah, and it's like, again, and like I said, there's so many ways that you can go about this. You don't, like, it was like the Trump thing. It's like, if it was fake, if they really wanted him dead, you know what I'm saying? I was explaining to somebody, I said, because that was, I think you said that was before he was elected or whatever.
The prior two, the first
one. I just remember that.
The first one and the second one.
Well, Student X said that, this was basically the deep state that's so fearful of him that wanted him dead. And I'm like, well, first of all, if you're saying that the deep state did this, well, you know that he gets like Secret Service, right? Around the clock. So they, at any point in time, they could slip something in his food. Like, if they just want him to die, you know what I'm saying? They could either just do a proper lapse. I mean, if they really want you dead, it's a very easy thing for someone that has 24 access to you and determines where you go, what you do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They plan everything. You know what I'm saying? They do everything. And if they want to get you, they don't have to do all this elaborate stuff just to miss and fail. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and again, I'm not saying that that's an excuse that means that it didn't happen. I'm just saying it's more evidence to suggest why that's probably not the case, because it would just be so easy to make it go away.
Yeah, the conspiracy theories, they try to, first of all, it's an elaborate explanation. It's more complicated than the mainstream or conventional explanation. And then the claims that they make, like you said, the deep state, the problem with that is that it's not falsifiable. Now, the claim that Tyler Robinson did it on his own accord, he was motivated, that's falsifiable. And they're going to court to I guess the defense is going to try to falsify it or what have you. And the defense are going to try to, the prosecutor is going to try to verify it. So, and they're going to try to, and there's anyone else but Charlie Kirk, anyone else but Tyler Robinson, I think the evidence falls short. We have, like you said, the text evidence. There's DNA evidence.
The chat evidence. Confessions on the chats. The bullets, the words, and the wordings on all this other stuff. Yes, the weapons.
You're going to throw that away. And you're going to say, no, you're going to disregard all of that. And you're going to go with this other theory that is not falsifiable.
And part of it is because you look at a video. I saw a video where they were like saying, oh, you see him, the weapon disassembled. And then the next video, how did it magically become assembled? And of course, you're looking at a video, and this is what it looks like from your video, not understanding the ambiguity that videos present. Sort of like the situation where the Netanyahu had like 6 fingers and stuff like that. It's just like, it's not a function. It doesn't have to be explained by AI as much the explanation of just the way how
is he alive now? Have they acknowledged that?
And that was a whole nother thing. I mean, they were definitely digging into the fact that they felt that he was dead, and that was one of the reasons. Well, again, we have a track record against Student X. We're tallying it.
Trying to keep it track.
So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what's going on about all this stuff. But I mean, it's like Trump, by his way. That Trump actually does eat a lot of McDonald's. And why he eats, why he eats a lot of McDonald's?
Oh, hold on. I know why. He said that he thought McDonald's makes him immune to something, right? It increases his immunity. No, he said
that's the type of bullshit he would say. I'm not saying he didn't say that, but that's not the reason.
He says
he's worried about someone poisoning him with, killing him, assassination by food. Okay. So that's why he won't go to all these other restaurants and stuff like that. So what he does is, if he has somebody randomly pick up his food from McDonald's, you know what I'm saying? They won't know how to get him. Now, of course, if it's your people that are constantly picking up the food, I think they can put 2 and 2 together. But I'm just saying it's an example of how the paranoia, but it's also an example how easy it is to kill somebody that you're basically providing security for. So I'm just saying, I'm not telling you that the deep state done is it, because look, the real issue is how they define the deep state. If you want to say that there are people that influence the government that are not elected, those people exist. Of course, we know they're employees. They're employees of the FBI. They're employees of this. There's the infrastructure. When one president goes out, another president comes in. He brings in people, but there are people already in place. So we understand that but you want to call them the deep state. Again, I don't need to argue that, because what I can argue is what's actually being done by who's ever doing what is ever. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of a neither here nor there for me. But again, with the whole Charlie Kirk situation, there's a ton of evidence to suggest that this guy will do it. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's very difficult to convict a person, to get 12 people to agree. You know what I'm saying? Especially if your case is weak. We know that people do get convicted. We know that whatever, but a lot of times those people don't have the resources. They definitely don't have the eyeballs on what's going on for that type of thing. And then you got, crooked judges, crooked whatever, stuff like that. But I'm just telling you, it's hard to get 12 people to agree on anything. And if this dude gets convicted, it's not going to be convicted because of some conspiracy. It's going to be convicted because they are struggling with the over 600 pages of evidence that they need extra time to go over. I mean, again, there's a lot on this cat. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how.
And there's nothing on the conspiracy theories, and that's the problem. It's kind of like I can see this dude David, this rapper or some artist. I can see his defense just trying to shoot holes in the prosecution.
That's all you got to do. That's all you got. That's all you got to do.
I know that's all you got to do.
All you got to do is
create a doubt. Like an alibi would be great if you can show that he was not there. But he's ordering shovels from Home Depot. He's ordering chainsaws. He's ordering body bags, and like she did arrive at his house at this time. Like it's so much like you have nothing. That's how I look at the conspiracy theorists. They have nothing. I'm just going to shoot holes in yours.
You're dealing with a minor, and you got child pornography.
On your phone.
So it's just like
a tremendous amount of child pornography.
So again. That's my point. That sometimes, we talk about, Bill Cosby. I mean, this dude, if you think about it, this dude had a comedic empire that was toppled by a comedian.
He was one of the first black billionaires, I think, too. Yeah.
He was toppled by a comedian.
Oh, yeah, by your boy.
Yeah.
Well, it was already out there, but he.
No. It was out there, but he's the one that got it to where it was. Because the bottom line is his joke. Because he's
find his name.
Yeah. So he basically made this joke about it, and I told people to go Google, and it just blew up. It went viral, and I mean, that played out. And I'm just saying that there was a ton of smoke, and this smoke. That this smoke forced you to believe that there was fire. You know what I'm saying? And then when other stuff that came out after the fact, it's just like I said. So when we talk about this Charlie Kirk, this Tyler Robinson dude, there's a ton of smoke here. With this David, there's a
Hannibal Buress. It's for young.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So literally, I mean, he took down one of our entertainment greats, and again, his legacy from a show standpoint is untouchable. You can't take away the greatness of what the Cosby Show was, or that all this other stuff. But two things can be true: that was great, and he's still a monster. And I'm just saying that all evidence suggested he is a monster and he was a predator.
I just want to say, when you were talking about his greatness in terms of
his legacy of shows, of black shows, of different world, of the Cosby Show. Okay. It's art. It's the legacy of his art.
Forget the most important one, man. Fat Albert.
I was going to say that. Fat Albert. Yeah, exactly. And again, he was a person. Man. Even though he had this sickness, he was really about sort of things that were important that had good impact on Black community. Like he's talking about, look, I don't want to display Black people in this fashion. He's complaining to Eddie Murphy about, look, that's the pull your pants down humor. You know what I'm saying? When the jokes are not landing, you pull your pants down and result of something crash, whatever and stuff like that. He's just like, so he really was a dude that was like, I don't want to put this Black woman, single Black pregnant woman out there. There were things that he was really sort of like, really goody two shoe about.
He was part of the black bourgeoisie that
and yet he
Mhm.
still had that monster quality about slipping people Mickeys and Quaaludes and
the
all
black
this other stuff.
bourgeoisie has a lot to criticize. When I said that, it wasn't giving him accolades.
Oh,
But I don't think his behavior was like a big deviation or a powerful man in his times. I think
That's
they
a good
all.
point. That's a good point. Well, it's like what you call it, Weinstein, and and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
just
bad.
like
I'm glad it's coming out now, but
people in power,
Mhm.
and it's to the point that even like we talk
I would
about
say
the
men though. I have to say men because again,
because power. It's power. Men are the ones that are in power. I mean, even if a woman is financially stronger than you, she's generally not physically stronger than you. So you know what I'm saying? It's like you have two dudes in a room, and one dude could be Bill Gates, and the other dude could be gangbanger, such and such, whatever. There's going to be one dude that's going to be real nervous in that room. You know what I'm saying? It's just
why we don't see the stories though where women are, of high profile or powerful women involved in these type of scandals. You don't really see it.
Stuff has come to light. Something just came to light about some female that was basically using her power, or the manosphere is loving that story because they're painting it like this is like something that goes on. Like this is an example to show. It's like you can have 1,000 occurrences of this one thing, but this one goes up, they go, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, 1,001.
What you say? How they do it? How they do it?
We got you. So I'm just saying, it's just like but and it matters. It is relevant when you talk about frequency and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a dime a dozen or twice a dozen for women. Just it's a big disproportionate difference. But but with the Cosby thing, I think it was very because there are even 2 clips that I know that I've seen where he talks about Spanish Fly.
He's got a cut. He's got
Have you seen those?
Yes.
Okay.
He's got a routine about. Like I said, some people tell, and you don't know that they told. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's just that. No, like I said, I don't know what happened. And I really am not in the judgment business. I don't really.
What happened. You know what happened with Michael Jackson too. You know what happened.
It's not that I don't know. I'm just saying that if I have to lean a certain way, gun to my head, if I have to pick a decision, that's one thing. But again, I still have the objectivity to understand that I can be wrong. Mm-hmm. So, because even look, they have odds. You can have something that's a 98% chance of happening, but there's still those 2%. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that something's highly probable and highly likely doesn't make it so. So therefore, when it comes to judgment, again, I am a religious person, admittedly so. So therefore, I'm not comfortable with judging people. I will say that, look, based on the information I have, I would not let Michael Jackson babysit my kids. You know what I'm saying? But again, he was not found guilty in the court of law. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Bill Cosby, he actually he had. He was found criminally. He actually was found guilty. He had a criminal. He went to jail. You don't go
retroactively exonerated.
No. What happened was they fucked over. They used evidence that was he bargained that look, if I testify that this can't be used against me, they illegally did that. Me and my father was like,
that's where the bullshit comes in though, because legally
now he can say I'm exonerated. Right? Yeah, he was, but again, he was found guilty by evidence. Again, but see, again, to me, I don't lean into the guilty and not guilty as much as the fact of I always tell people, look, in America, they say you're guilty until proven innocent, right? Or you're innocent until proven guilty. That's what they say in the United States. That's what they say. But I explain to people like, dude, you're guilty if you're guilty. You're not adjudicated to be guilty. If I go and kill somebody, I'm guilty of killing that person. I haven't been found guilty, but I'm saying it's something that I did. So my point is that committing a crime makes you guilty of a crime. It doesn't make you necessarily found guilty, judiciated guilty of it. So you know what I'm saying? So I always think about that. And again, because I'm religious, I'm putting the frame of God work. I'm saying that God sees exactly what the hell you did.
But do you know what was found under Michael Jackson's bed?
Oh, you're talking about the pictures with the nudity and stuff like that? The photo book?
The photo books.
Yeah, but that photo book, to my understanding, was a picture of like, you know, it wasn't like necessarily child. It's something that you can call child pornography,
but yeah. it was child underwear advertisements from catalog books. So he had a whole binder of just from different issues.
And again,
the child.
One thing he is guilty. One thing he is guilty of being is a fucking weirdo. You know what I'm saying? There's no question about that. But whether he was actually doing this stuff, again, hey, like I said, he not babysitting my kids.
The
you know what I'm saying?
But still, him, stop sleeping with kids.
Again, that's what a human being decides. Again, like I said, the reason. See, it's a logical position for you to take. It's a logical position for you to take because you are not religious in the way that I am, so you're not worried about any fallback. You're just basically saying, look, based on the evidence, this is more likely the truth. I'm accepting this to be the truth. That's a reasonable position for you to take.
I'm saying,
but me, as a religious person that's concerned about judgment, I'm going to say that, look, I'm leaving judgment up to God. What I'm going to do is defend myself against the acts of people.
But do you believe he was being inappropriate? I mean, I think you can't deny that he was.
I think he crossed. He. This is one thing that he did, in my opinion, was absolutely inappropriate. Mm-hmm. He put out his penis and pissed it in the cup and handed the cup to like a kid, like as a joke, and he thought it was funny. And to me, part of me goes, "That's way inappropriate," and I can see how that could be predatory, improper. But I can also see how it could just be improper because. Part of what he was doing is that he felt like he was deprived of being a kid. So when he's around them, he's being a kid. In many respects, he's seeing himself as like their peer, as one of them, doing childish things. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's not a justification. It's not a explanation. It's just basically, I'm just saying that I can see how two things can be true. And since I can understand that, the objectivity says I don't need to conclude that about that man. But like I said, I have enough evidence to think that mother babysitting my children. You know what I'm saying? So again, but at the end of the day, notwithstanding what he may have done with those kids, he was a great artist. He was a great singer. He was a great performer. You know what I'm saying? He was an absolute superstar. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying that, again, all these things can be true, and I'm all for holding superstars accountable. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a free pass. It's just that I'm not going to ignore who Michael Jackson was to me most of my life. You know what I'm saying?
Let me just say too. I just really
come out of Stax Records. They come out of Motown. You know what I'm saying? I understand, but
I understand that with that because there's a lot of artists that again I don't let that influence.
The Silvers are my cousins. They were direct rivals with the Jackson 5. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The Silvers. The Silvers. Sylvers. You know that song, Funky? That song was by Foster Silvers. It was produced by Leon Silvers. And his musical group was called The Silvers. They had a song called like Boogie Fever, Cotton Candy. They were like a big... Matter of fact, remember the cartoon, the Jacksons, the cartoon?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't provide the voices. The Silvers provided the voices to the Jacksons. They were your rivals, but they were your musical rivals. You know what I'm saying? But you guys provided the voices to their cartoon characters. Rest in peace to Edmund Silvers, who was like the lead singer.
I just want to say because
those are my cousins. Those are my cousins' cousins.
Blood.
Like cousins, super blood. So yeah.
I just want to say
we all came out from Memphis. We all came out from Memphis to here.
I want to say real quick on that child piece. Not most, but I would say a significant number of people who are famous didn't have a childhood either. So I don't buy that piece. But they were deprived of childhood because you have to really kind of breed a lot of that at a young age, and they're on the strict regiment. Like Floyd Mayweather, just outside of being a celebrity, or I'm being an artist, as an athlete, most of his friendships are in the gym because, he grew up different than most of us. So I just don't use that or buy that as
You know why I hate
didn't have
that?
a childhood.
You know why I hate that? You know what I hate that? I go, well, you're robbing yourself of your adulthood now because you ain't acting like a fucking adult.
I don't get it. What do you mean?
I'm saying that all this living like a child and acting like a child and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, you're robbing yourself of your adulthood because you're not conducting yourself as an adult.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So again, because you're only a child for a little. Look, adults, we still play, we still have fun. I mean, I still play video games. I mean, I grew up. Literally, my generation created video games. So I was there for every machination. I had the very first video game system ever. You know what I'm saying? I played Pong. I played all of that
Atari?
No, before Atari. There was a Pong thing. There was a thing that had like paddles.
Hey man, you a real one, bro. On this video game, you're a real one, man.
Oh yeah, I'm saying. So yeah. So that was it. So you had that. Then you got to Atari. Then you got to Intellivision, you know what I'm saying? And then you got to all this. Yeah, ColecoVision was bougie. That was a little bit down the line because because that was fancy. Like ColecoVision was more.
I thought it came from ColecoVision.
Well, I mean, it probably was the company, but just because Donkey Kong and stuff like that. That was one of their original sort of like because Nintendo created Donkey Kong and Nintendo, ColecoVision. Donkey Kong was one of their main sort of like original. That game looked like the actual Donkey Kong from the arcade because when we was playing with video games, you had to use your imagination. They didn't look nothing like. They told you that this is that you would go. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Pac-Man, okay, they couldn't do fruits. They were eating multivitamins.
Hold on, just on the sidebar, just on the just resonating brother to brother. Do you recall like in the liquor stores in the hood, they would have like 1 or 2 arcade games? You remember back in the day?
Yeah, put your quarter up on there. You put a quarter up on there to show that you had next. So basically, no.
It was always a bully in there. Hey, let me get you a free. Let me get you a free, and then he'd be on your game, never get off. You know,
it's all type of situation. We grew up in a generation where bullying has probably been something throughout the course of history. But I feel like if you grew up in the 80s, bullying was almost like celebrated. It was almost like I think bullying was never more okay than during the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Every 80 movie really wanted to play up the bully angle. They didn't really want you to beat them, but they felt like, the bully made you a better person. Stand up to the bully. The bully was a necessary tool to make you a better person. Like this generation has got it better. They're like, we can figure it out without bullying. We just need to get beyond that. So you know what I'm saying. But I refuse to let these things go. We're gonna talk about these things. This thing gonna go a little bit longer. But we're gonna talk about could Jetful bring those buildings down. Okay. These cats. Okay, so I remember that Student X. We're bringing up Student X again. I'm not dogging them. I'm just bringing out. I'm just testimony of my dear brother. Even though our last discussion was one of contention, I don't bring it up in hostility or anything like that. But he's talked about, how there's no way the jet fuel can get hot enough to melt these beams because in order to melt these beams, like jet fuel was only going to get up to like something like again, I don't remember it offhand, so I don't want to do it justice, but let's say 1800 Fahrenheit, you know what I'm saying? Whereas in order to melt steel, you need to get somewhere in the 20 to 2000s, you know what I'm saying? It's, or like 2500 or something like that Fahrenheit. So they're like, so this is irrefutable proof that that couldn't have been the case. And what they miss is that it doesn't have to melt. It turns out at 1800 degrees Fahrenheit still becomes useless because it'll ultimately bend and buckle. It'll lose its structural integrity. So yes, so like literally, there's a video showing where a guy goes, "This is steel at room temperature. How clang clang clang, how powerful it is." So he goes, "This is some heat that I've rooted to 1800, which is degrees that jet fuel can get you to, and then it still just mend like paper." And he's like, just think about this is supposed to be supporting the strength of a building. And then all of a sudden, that which is holding together a building loses its integrity. Guess what? it's going to fall like what? Like a controlled demolition. Because a controlled demolition, what do? They blow up the integrity of a building, the support, to make it crash like it crashes. You know what I'm saying? So again, this is explaining that. When they talk about the other building, how's the other building that been burned down? They're like, because, flames, debris, we out here in Los Angeles, technically, well, no, I'm in Los Angeles. My identification says this is Compton because I'm in the West Rancho Dominguez, but I'm in the Los Angeles, the county of Los Angeles, not in the city of Los Angeles.
Big difference.
County,
big
county
difference.
of Los
Angeles.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a big difference for money because basically that was how I was able to afford this house because I was able to take advantage of a county program as opposed to a city program. You know what I'm saying? And had I lived in the city of Compton, I would have that program would have even been better. Like I got a first buyer advantage program, so they basically lend me $100,000 towards the purchase of a house, interest free for 20 years, which allows you to purchase a house. Because just think about it, your down payment just increased by $100,000, and you don't have to pay interest for that for 20 years.
Man, you need to get off the Democrat Foundation plantation, man. You took that handout. You shouldn't have taken that handout. You should have figured out a way.
Check this out. That's a great program. But had I been about 4 blocks down and been in the city of Compton, their program, all you had to do is live in that house for 10 years, and that $100,000 that they give you, you don't even have to pay it back. I tried to get a house over there. It didn't work. Honestly, this is a better neighborhood. It's worth having to pay that extra $100,000. But the bottom line is, it is what it is. But these programs are important. They're helpful. But again, talking about this building, I was saying we out here in Los Angeles. Now, fortunately, where I'm at, we don't really deal with the fires like people in the rich folks. People that live in the mountains, people from outside, they're like, oh, we saw that fire out there in Los Angeles, I hope you're safe. And, it's like me and my daughter, and I don't mean to say joke about it, but we always point out to them, like, them the white people's area. That them, they living in the hills, the fancy hills with all that brush and all that other stuff. And then cinders float from one place and go to another place and set this place on fire. Well, that's kind of like how it happened with the whatchamacallit, with the building, that other building. Flaming debris from whatchamacallit came down on this building. And what they've shown is that you don't even need jet fuel. Regular fires can reach the temperatures where steel loses its integrity and basically come down just like that. So again, this is basic, simple science. People were saying about the airplanes, they're saying, those airplanes and all this other stuff, it was a controlled explosion. Or they said that, they said the plane hit the Pentagon, but it was a missile. And I always go like, if it was a missile, they could just say that it was a missile and that terrorists shot the missile. If it was bombs planted, they could say terrorists planted the bombs. They wouldn't need a plane. That's the smell test that's not being ignored in a lot of these conspiracy theories. You don't need all this intricacy to basically come up with a simple explanation to fit in with the narrative that you want if you're creating one. So therefore, that's why I'm saying it's weak sauce.
At the end of the year, when I did engineering, we would do a project, and I knew that I should have wrote this name down for some reason. It starts with an M or a G. I thought Goldberg. We used to do these Goldberg machines. And the way you describe these conspiracy theories, they're like Goldberg machines where, for instance, you want to turn the switch off on the light switch. You have a bird that flies over, that hits a rock, that catapults a piece of something, that hits this and does this.
One of them Tom and Jerry mousetraps.
Yeah, that's a Goldberg machine. But it's fun to build as engineering, feat. But it's the whole goal is to do something that necessarily to do something that's simple, making it more complicated. And that's kind of like what they do with the conspiracy theories. You're adding these layers, and every time you add, you kind of put yourself in this illogical, irrational position. Now you have to explain all this crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think the other thing is just a lack of science. Like, if I'm just kind of sketchily wrote down what you said, if something melts at 24 degrees Celsius and it got up to 1800 Celsius, that's 80% of the melting rate, of the melting point. You're within 80% of the melting point. It is not going to have the same integrity if you are 80%, you've reached there.
And it loses its integrity well before then. You know what I'm saying? It starts working to that, but it's completely lost it all at like 1800. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that, again, we want a big narrative, and a lot of times we want to sound smarter than we are. But I mean, it's just like flat Earth. I mean, there's people that believe this, and I can understand. I'm telling you, rest in peace to my brother Brick Walls. He sent me that flat Earth video, and I swear I played it. It was 9 minutes, and I literally questioned everything that I literally. I'm telling you, it said something. It said some things, and it literally had me rethinking some things. And then it was kind of messed up because he purposely did that to go, okay, now watch this video. And then he sent me the video debunking all that. I was like, oh man, you just sent me on a roller coaster like that. Because it destroyed that. It's like they made an intelligent argument in isolated, but then when it actually dealt with the things that were being, the premises they were making, it just destroyed all of that stuff. And I just was like, whatever. But my point is that they make a lot of money in this stuff. A lot of these conspiracy, a lot of these things like clicks, honestly, the people that get the biggest clicks on YouTube and stuff like that are going to be the conspiracy people. Candace Owen is blowing up now.
Conspiracy theory grifters.
Yeah, Candace Owen, Tucker Carlson, you know what I'm saying? They're doing this really big stuff now because they found their niche where they can basically go at their old employers. They don't have to necessarily concede that the original party that they're running from is the enemy, but they can find out this sort of like third whole sort of like counterculture and just cater that, just feed it, just give it to stuff, and just be a superstar because they were already great performers, you know what I'm saying? They were great people at their, at what they did, you know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is, and again, it's legal.
It's a great, I mean, what Candace does, it's a great soap opera. I mean, you're anticipating what's next. She's going to expose this. She's going to suggest, there's always like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
But I'm just telling you, it's like, and it's like, a certain brother, not to keep throwing his name up there, he speaks so glowing of her. He's like, you listen to this video. She lays on the facts. I don't see how anybody, whatever. And I play the same video. And I mean, I'm sitting there going, it's a terrible argument. That there's no connectivity from this point to that. That's a leap of faith. That's not the next step from this. This is not the next reasonable conclusion. That's a total leap of faith to get from this point to that point. And then that's absolutely just not true. That's a lie. It's like the things are just falling apart. Look, I've heard great arguments from Tucker. I definitely think that he's on the right side now about a lot of things, especially about the whole Gaza situation.
Tucker, just to be clear, this is the one thing too. Tucker is against the VRA. He wants to gut it and weaken it.
Oh, again, he's still part of that one. Again, he's still turning point. Again, I'm gonna tell you right now.
On the right side. You're not.
No. I said the right side of the argument when you consider that. I said on like the Gaza and Israel. You didn't hear what I said. I didn't say he's on the right side. I'm saying he's on the right side of some arguments that he was on the wrong side of before. You know what I'm saying? So he's genuinely on the right side of some arguments that he's on the wrong side of before. I will give credit where credit's due in that respect. You know what I'm saying? But he is reinforcing the narrative that, it's really about, white people needing to dominate and needing, they're smarter than everybody, they're more talented than everybody, and they need to set the parameters of what societies need to be. It's okay for other people to exist in white society. They don't, some white people want it pure clean and don't want none of outsiders. They the good white folks. They don't mind other people. It's just that other people need to fit in. Like what's his name? The dude that pushed that lady that came to his door. Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes. He just says, "Look, I don't trust it when white people aren't running everything. We need white people to control everything. I don't necessarily, I don't want to be around black people. It doesn't necessarily want harm for black people. I'm just too scared around them because I'm worried that they're going to steal stuff."
It's interesting. Nick Fuentes and I think Charlie Kirk are both from Chicago or the suburbs outside of Chicago, which is just interesting because.
It's the worst of black people. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, King, when I forgot that area, Cicero. when he went to system, when he went, a lot of people don't know King moved to Chicago. I think,
Oh, you mean Martin Luther King? You said Chicago. I'm thinking King Von.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shout out to clarify.
Yeah. I can't remember what they say, but anyway, King moved in the projects and everything. But when he did that protest in Cicero and in and around Chicago in the suburbs, he said in his own words he had never experienced anything like that in the South. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting that Nick Fuentes and Kirk come from that Chicago.
And a lot of that stuff is reinforced by the narratives. I mean, I literally saw a video, and I don't know if I shared it in the Focus Up chat, where the white lady is just going, it's just not in our nature to be violent and be whatever, it's just Black people. I don't know what it is. I just think it's in their nature that whatever. And I'm like, you're literally ignoring history. Like, you understand that white people.
And data.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, but it's, again, if that's the narrative, we, when they choose who's going to be on the news at 11, we know that news is literally a platform for negativity. That's what sells. That's what entertains you. You want to hear about people getting murdered, people getting raped, people whatever. It's accidents. You know what I'm saying? Train wrecks. That's what the news sells for. And then they'll give you some weather. You know what I'm saying? They tell you if Jimmy Kimmel coming on. But I'm just saying the bottom line for the most, that's the script for mainstream news. And they often were kind of reckless who they portrayed as committing the criminals. So, even though white people are committing crime at a greater clip than Black people, if all you show are Black people, that's going to reinforce the narrative that was going to allow white people to think that, oh, it's them.
Maybe it has something to do with the producer of the show being white, the board of directors being
white. Of course, all of that stuff, No.
That was the result of meritocracy, right? The fact that you have 4 Black Republican congressmen and 250 white ones, that's just meritocracy.
And they're all gone. They're all leaving. Like you got the Republicans, they got 5 total. They got, I think, 1 senator and 4 people in the House. All 4 of them going to be gone.
But it's meritocracy. It has nothing to do with race. Nothing to do with race.
and again, and it's like and the thing about it is what they do is they complain. They go, oh, so now people are hypersensitive to portraying that they don't want to portray. They're ignoring the Black ones and they're seeking out the white people. They go, I can tell if the shooter is Black or white is if they just release his name right away, it must be white. That's because now it's the fragility, the victimhood, where they're like now over, because they feel like now it's an overcompensation. Like woke is an overcompensation in their mind to something that may have been needed back in the day, but it's not needed anymore. I mean, that's
like to remind the audience when you were speaking earlier too about the need for DEI and things like that of that nature. Really quick, like back before the 60s, before the civil rights legislation, you can literally advertise that you are looking for employees that are white. You can literally say, I'm looking for a woman or a white man of this age group. That was perfectly normal and was not illegal or a violation of
and not only legal, it was done. It was a regular practice. It was not just an opportunity. It was something that was very much realized quite regularly. So again, it wasn't about meritocracy. It was really about, what you particularly wanted. And that's why you got all these can't discriminate on race, gender, blah, blah. All of these things are basically come out of Black struggles. All these rights, all this stuff are basically the fruit of the seed of Black struggle.
Didn't exist before the 1960s.
Yeah. So, but so that's that. And then we got this last one. Let's pick up. We've talked about this before, what I'm saying? And we did touch on it earlier when we talked about Israel only existed in 1948. The current machination of Israel, it didn't come into existence in 1948. America had been an empire long before then. The Jews themselves are a small minority in respect to the numbers of white people, here in America. When you want to talk about resources and finances, don't get it twisted. You got some super rich, Jewish families, people, you know what I'm saying? We know that the media, they were, it's first mover advantage. They were the first people that set up those big studios, you know what I'm saying? When Metro Goldwyn Mayer and stuff like that. So it's not shocking that they have that footing in that particular industry. But again, that's not the only industry out there. There's a lot of industries, billionaire industries that crop up, new things all the time. When you talk about crypto currency, when you're talking about AI, when you're talking about this, that, and the other, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of things. So the fact of the matter is, there's a whole lot of rich white money out there that's not, you know, rich Jewish money. And even though you might feel like, well, as a people, they're definitely doing a whole lot better than others. No argument there. I'm not going to tell you that that's not the case as far as some individual Jewish people, but I'm sure that a lot of Jewish people tell you that ain't benefiting me. Just because you got a bunch of rich Jewish people, that don't make all Jewish people rich. You know what I'm saying? You know, so it's just, you know, and
the Hollywood thing, people need to know. I was look like when films first came out at the theater, actual motion pictures, they were silent, they were corny, they were black and white. You actually had a live pianist in the theater that had to play the scores. Like rich people looked at that as that's some bullshit. Like that's vulgar. That's for the masses who are not educated, who don't have class. They went to live theater. So they threw that bone to the Jews. They didn't compete for that. They didn't know that motion pictures would become what it has become today. But at that time, that was not a big deal. Like, okay, let them have that, whatever. We do real theater.
Yeah, let them that live in the ghetto have those. Because again, the ghetto was originally a term to describe their communities, which is not yeah, it wasn't you know, it wasn't a term. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, again, those are people that rose up, you know, and did what they did. And again, we're not saying that there weren't wicked people, individuals.
And that's verified in the book, an Empire of Their Own, that was written by, I think, several Jewish people, but how the Jews became a big influence on Hollywood. It's open information. It's not, you know. Yeah.
Again, but we need to stress that this is not controlling America, because, for example, let's talk about the media. Okay, we talk about news media. I mean, when you talk about the major networks, you know, Fox, CBS, I should really say CBS. CBS is dominant, like as far as money and viewership and stuff like that. Very conservative and stuff like that. You know, this is you know, the CNN, you know, these things are like kind of like small potatoes compared to CNN, compared to Fox. Fox viewership is just way bigger than CNN. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, it's a lot of these institutions that conservative. I mean, a lot of these institutions that cater to conservative audience, it's just a larger audience. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about control, they've been controlled this faction of Hollywood, but you know, as we're seeing that there's new studios being built here and there all the time. Tyler Perry is establishing an empire in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of places. California Los Angeles was the place to do a lot of filming. In the United States, a lot of places are moving to other places to do all their filming. You know, a lot of stuff is becoming more affordable. I mean, even with AI, I know they hate it that a lot of people are losing these jobs, but it's actually gonna allow other filmmakers to more cost effectively do certain type of things. You know what I'm saying? You know, the astronauts, all this stuff, they use technology, they use AI to do calculations. It's just too difficult for them to perform it much quicker, whatever. That's going to be the same case with Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And I know it sucks, but look, jobs are not going to be here forever. Things get replaced. I work in the legal sector, and you know, there was a big need for attorney services. As far as, you know, the attorney service would come to your office in the morning or whatever fixed time, pick up all the papers that you need to file in court and take them to court. You come every day. You know what I'm saying? So you have to do physical files. This was a great business for those attorney services that were out there. Then we started gravitating to electronic filing. Now you don't need the attorney service. You're filing it directly. So, you know, now attorney services have shrunk because we just aged out of that industry, and it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Now you still need attorney services because you still have to serve everything. You still have to serve everything in person. That first complaint has to be served in person. You know what I'm saying? So they're still gonna be able to survive, but they're just not gonna be able to survive with the numbers. And I say that to say the technology will force us out of industries, but it will take us out of one. It'll create an opportunity in another. We're gonna need to have to figure out the way to roll with it.
It sounds kind of cryptic. One door is closed, the other one is open, huh?
But it is. You need to adjust. You need to adjust. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you can say what you want about COVID, but COVID revolutionized the legal industry.
Oh man, education, big time. We never went back.
Remote, bro, it never went back. I'm just telling you. I used to have to fly our attorneys all over the country to go to depositions. We don't do that anymore. Depositions are largely remote. Mediations, I mean, they destroy your whole day because literally the mediator's got to talk to one party, sequestered, and then they talk to the other party, sequestered. So you're just sitting in your whole day in a suit and tie, all fancy and stuff like that. Now mediation, you're at your office, you do the interaction with the judge, but now you're getting work done. You do all that downtime, you're doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I mean,
And the audience, man, might not know like the amount of paper that a school goes through. It's like teachers and it's a tremendous amount of paper. I would say that after COVID, there's been like an 80 or more percent reduction in paper. Teachers hardly even use paper anymore.
We are a paperless office. Everything gets digitalized and we destroy the paper. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like a contract or something like that, settlement agreement, we're not keeping it really. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And again, like I said, COVID was terrible. People really died. I'm not telling you whatever, but it revolutionized. It brought us to the Jetsons. Yeah. We saw the Jetsons as far as everybody talking on TVs and stuff like that. That ushered it, and we never looked back. We're not going back. And so I'm just saying that sometimes you got to embrace the technology. Hey, as you know, again, used to make music. You know, a sampler that I used to work on. First of all, when I was first making music,
hold on. Did you have the Akaya?
So I had a bunch of things, but I had to work off turntables. So I work on a 4-track recorder. So we record like the turntable playing one part, and then record the other track playing. That's how we accomplish the loop. So I play the little beat for like 4 bars, then play nothing. Play it again for 4 bars, play nothing. Play it again for 4 bars, then go on the other track and do the opposite 4 bars. So that's how you would fill out the rest of the song. When you listen to poetry by BDP, he's not sampling. That's all turntables. You can hear it speeding up and slowing down and stuff like that. They're just doing it on multi-tracks. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's not, you know what I'm saying? Well, the sampling as far as the drum machine, yes, you know, that's the drum. But as far as the, you know, that James Brown, that you can hear it, you can literally hear the guy speeding it up, slowing it out, or whatever. The same type of dynamic when you're trying to time it, releasing a song on beat, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that I went from 2 turntables and a 4-track recorder to a sampler that was a pedal. It was literally pedal. It was 8 seconds. If you wanted to do, you had to do multiple tracks to do whatever. To go from that to like, you know, the Roland W30, where now it's sophisticated. You're sitting there like, oh, this is dope. I got like a whole certain amount of seconds, you know what I'm saying, that to do this stuff. So what you do is you record something real fast and then slow it down so that it, you know, you don't tie up a whole bunch of sample memory with it. And that's why a lot of stuff had this sort of like sound quality, a lot of 12-bit.
Did you? On a related note, do you remember "Here We Go" live at the Funhouse Run DMC? Of course. You know, here we go, here we go.
Those all turntables.
Yeah, those are straight turntables because that part where he says, "Nobody out here be misled. We make up all these rhymes inside our heads. Other MCs cannot compete when we rock on the mic to this big beat." That right there. Jam Master Jay messed up on the 1 and 2.
Yeah,
but they kept it going though. But they kept it going.
Well, that was the thing about it. If you went to a Run DMC show, they literally performed with 2 turntables, no DAT. Yeah, that was some real type stuff. But my point is that technology allows you. When I think about how far sampling has come, because I don't got the money. I spent like a whole bunch of money on something for my wife. It probably wasn't the best decision, but I did it. You know what I'm saying? And it set me back. It set us back as far as doing our own thing outside of Focus Up. But just saying that I'm going to get that sampler, that new one out, that $400 one. That I'm gonna get that mug. I'm gonna be playing with it and stuff like that.
It came down.
It's already out. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, that one.
We were talking about this a while ago.
Yeah. It just dropped this. It either just dropped last month or whatever. But yeah, it was only $400. But it was truly. It was truly everything all in one little thing. You just plug in your headphones and you good to go. You know what I'm saying? I I already got tons of samples and stuff on my computer. The fact that I can just be sitting in my front room and doing all this stuff, I bought something to try to do that before, and it was like, no, this thing needs to be hooked up to the computer, the desktop, this, that, and other. I was like, man. So, but anyways, I said all of that was said to say that, look, technology is going to take us further. We need to be responsible to humanity. We need to be respected. People still need to work. We need to still figure out a way for people to remain useful.
I would say that the less technology is loyal to the motives of capitalism, the better off it will be for the people.
But we'll see about that. We'll see about that. At the end of the day,
I want to mention just some top industries really quick, because people do use that argument as if Jews are, because of Hollywood, they control industries or something in the United States. But the healthcare and social assistance industry, majority white Anglo-Saxon. The retail industry, manufacturing, cars, planes, chemicals, machinery, airplanes. Okay, Jews don't control that. And my question too is, what do they throw around the word Zionism so much? But what is Zionism beyond a nationalist ideology that started in the late 19th century? Like, what is this? What do they mean when they say Zionism? They never really clearly defined it, because Zionism in and of itself, there's a religious aspect to Zionism as well. So what the hell do you mean? This small country that was formed in 1948 started receiving funds in 1949 before it was a year old, and is more powerful than this superpower that's 200 something years old. Like, that's just that just doesn't compute.
So on this show, Objective Deconstruction, we have this picture. Now this is a real symbiotic relationship.
This is like a bird.
Yeah, this is a real symbiotic relationship. This isn't a fluke. They didn't happen to catch this bird on this rhino and think, wow, this is, we just scored it's a unicorn. No, these creatures have a symbiotic relationship. This bird basically plucks or eats, I guess, lice or whatever, just whatever stuff, it's just like those creatures that eat the barnacles off of like whales and stuff. Yeah. So the bottom line is it has this relationship. And what those animals do is provide absolute safety with those birds, because ain't nobody messing with that bird on top of that rhino. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's a true symbiotic relationship. But make no mistake, the thing that's powerful is the rhino, not the bird. And that's the relationship between Israel and America. You can make all type of arguments that you want as far as Trump and Netanyahu. Yes, Netanyahu is playing him like a fiddle. I definitely think that Netanyahu's undue influence on Trump, and as far as what Trump executes, you can say, but at the end of the day, America is controlled by white Anglo-Saxons. It's always been controlled by white Anglo-Saxons. They have the most resources. They have the most power. They have the most infiltration. They have the most say.
And the Israel claim, the claim that Israel controls the United States, it's not falsifiable. Like, we show that economically is not dominant, militarily is not dominant, but they still say steal. There's no way to, like, if they can come up with a way to falsify that claim, we can falsify it, but we can't.
And that's the thing. And that's not to say that, Israel doesn't influence things out here. They absolutely do. It doesn't mean to say that the Mossad is not over here influencing things. I'm sure everybody does that. The CIA, everybody's got someone from your country and another person's country doing your bidding.
There's no question about that. They have embassies. They have
exactly. And again, we understand that, but at the end of the day, we're just talking about this. The big dog that's in control, that's really responsible for the most of it are white Anglo-Saxons, and if they're telling you different, it's because they want to feel like the victim. You know what I'm saying? They're not the victim. Yeah, they're not the victim with respect to black. Racism is not our construct that we created to throw on them, to throw at their feet. No, racism is something real that they've benefited by and used pretty much the entirety over here, and abroad. Really, their impact on the world. So at the end of the day, that's not that's nothing to criticize or condemn all white people, because I keep telling you, you're not guilty by proxy. You're guilty by contributing to allowing. If an instructor is in place and you contribute to the machine, that's where your guilt comes from. Mm-hmm. But you don't have historic guilt from other people's actions. You only have guilt for the actions that you play in it right now, and you can choose to not play actions that are worthy of guilt. So at the end of the day,
lick a shot.
So I believe we covered all the conspiracies that we wanted to address. I'm trying to look at that picture there. So yeah, oh, that's your picture. I had, you know what? It's funny. I loaded up the picture and never had it on this picture, but since I've already proven that I can just go over to the focus up environment and grab it, I'm just gonna load it up here. And wait a second, is that it? I can't tell it. Oh, that mother effer. I don't even think I have it on. I don't know where it went. So anyway, so I failed to do it, but I had this nice little, speaking of AI, as far as, and it's the cover for the show. It's on YouTube. But the bottom line is that, using ChatGPT is a monster, so I'm putting some respect on it. So that's what's up. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I see. I put it as background. This is bad because you can't see it with us here. So that was
looks like it's a part. Oh, you put it.
Yeah. So the only way I can do it is, I don't know. I don't know what happens if I remove all of us. So there you go. That was
you embedded all of the things that we went over.
Yes, all of it into this. So yeah, so I didn't embed it. I literally just listed these things. ChatGPT that I'm paying $20 or whatever for a month. Went and grabbed a picture of Trump, picture Charlie Kirk. I don't know when he's born, when he died. It did all this work. All I just said was jet fuel in those buildings, and they went and grabbed pictures of the Twin Towers and all this other stuff. I mean, AI is pretty effing amazing. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just saying that I put very little input in it for it to come up with that thing. And I'm just saying that, I'm going to tap into it some more. Don't be afraid of it. But, if we got to build the resistance to keep Skynet at bay, we'll cross that, a later point in time.
To come up with a term later, as far as like sometimes the knee-jerk response when you challenge one of these conspiracy theories is to say you're dumb or you don't see it,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of providing evidence. I don't know what to call that, but we need to get a name.
We'll come up one. Yeah, because I definitely don't want. Yeah, exactly. No, I'll definitely come up one. But that having been said, I think we covered everything. Yeah. And for those that stuck around, for those that tapped in, tapped out, honestly, we just care that you tap in. You don't necessarily need to watch it all in one place. I hardly ever watch long videos all in one sitting. You know what I'm saying? So consume at your leisure, but we appreciate you participating. We appreciate those comments. Those were great comments earlier. Even that negative comment, it was a springboard for something else. At the end of the day, watch and comment, like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you. Objective Deconstruction. We are up out here.